And hey there, it's me, Mudlink, and welcome back to some more The Great Ace Attorney Adventure. So last time we took down the third part of the trial. Finally got Egbert Benedict, or as he's actually known as, Ashley Graydon to the stand. And of course we had to expose everything about the McGilded case, which definitely doesn't make us look good. But we're now going to be starting to corner Ashley Graydon, and oh boy, this is gonna be a long part of this case, of this trial. Like you think, oh, it's part 4, it's gonna be over soon. Let's just go. Probably gonna have to end up splitting this into 2 episodes. If not, this is gonna be the finale. But most likely, it's gonna be a 2-parter. Well, I'll do like 1 more episode after this, which is gonna be the finale. So this is the article in question, is it? Small box deposited with the pawnbroker by Mr. McGilded 2 months ago. And on the night of Mr. Windybank's murder, the only item on the shelves that was touched by whoever broke into the shop. So, quick, let's open and see what's inside. Good gracious, this is no ordinary box, it seems. Wow, although in truth I had an inkling that might be the case. It would appear that the box houses a miniature music box movement. Then, is it too much to expect? I think it would be reasonable to assume that it is a device for the playback of this disc, my lord. So here we have the means to play back Mr. McGilded's disc deposited at Windybanks at much the same time. Not strictly correct, my lord. It was not McGilded's disc. It was the disc of his victim in the omnibus. But why, for heaven's sake? Are we to understand that the brickmaker was trying to sell this music box disc to Mr. McGilded? I believe the answer will become clear if you listen to the music on the disc, my lord. Yes, very well. Let the court now listen to this curious disc at last. Oh, blimey, wait, my lord. Good grief, what is the meaning of this, Inspector? The music box and the disc are, well, they're unrelated to the case. So, no need to spoil the somber atmosphere of this courtroom with some silly bit of music. This disc may very well have motivated the culprit in this case to commit murder. Clearly, there's every chance that it's fundamentally important to understanding what happened. The prosecution has no objection. But no, that piece of evidence is Billy's property now. You can't... Clearly, Scotland Yard has some vested interest here. But it is policy of this prosecutor to leave no avenues unexplored. And you, Inspector, have no jurisdiction here to prevent that from happening. God, go blimey. No further delays, please. Play the disc. What on earth? That's certainly not what I would call music. No. It's just the same note playing over and over again in an irregular sequence. Mr. Graydon? This really is priceless. After all that, the music box is broken. Broken? It can't be, can it? Well, obviously, in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the officer sent to fetch it didn't drop it on the way back to the courtroom. Well, with much regret, I feel the court must accept that this music box offers little in the way of clues. Are you ready to move on, counsel? Come on. Yes, alright. It does sound as though it's completely broken, but is it? Could this music box emanating from the music box possibly be a new clue? I believe that it could be relevant, my lord. Good lord, but how can it be? It's an abomination, Council, mere noise. I fail to see how it can have any meaning whatsoever. Does sound strange, I agree, but there's one thing bothering me. While Graydon stands there chortling victoriously, the inspector beside him has a rather telling expression on his face. It's as if Gregson recognizes its sound. It's as if he's familiar with it somehow. That's making him appear extremely on edge. If that's the stance of the defense, my Nipponese friend, answer me this. Oh! Just what relevance do you propose this willful chiming has on this case? It's the defense's belief that the sound emanating from this music box is... Just because this is a music box, it doesn't necessarily mean the sounds we're hearing are music. Look at that. The smile vanished from Graydon's lips as soon as I said it. I'm on the right lines here. I must be. Making deductions based on how people react to what you say. You're acting just like Hurley, Bruno. The sounds we're hearing aren't necessarily music. Well, now that you've told us what they are not. I'm sure the court would like to hear what they are. Do enlighten us, my Nipponese friend. Well, surely you have an idea in mind, because if not, it will be the death of your ill-formed argument. Exactly. The music box is clearly broken. Refusing to accept that fact is pure foolishness. They've got me. I don't know what the answer is yet. Bruno, I just examined the music box very thoroughly, and I'm fairly certain that it's not broken at all. Really? Really, the way it's been made, it can only produce a single note anyway. Thank you, Iris. Alright, well, if the music box isn't broken, it must mean that the sounds it's producing have some significance that isn't musical. Ah, could it be? Is that what these sounds are? Something's just struck me, Bruno. I feel like recently, in the past few hours even, I've heard another sound very much like the one this music box makes. Yes, it's a familiar sound. Actually, Iris, I was just thinking exactly the same thing. I'm going to have to press the defense for an answer. If your assertion is that the sound produced by this music box is not in fact music at all, then what the devil is it, Counsel? All the evidence we've seen so far, all the testimony we've heard, it's all pointing to one single answer now. The prosecution demands that my Lord Nipponese friend presents proof now. Tangible proof of this latest wild speculation. Alright then. This could be the best chance I'm gonna get to fight back in this trial. And if I'm right, it's gonna join all the dots together. The evidence that explains the true nature of the sounds in this music box disc is something we haven't shown off yet because we have to examine today's paper and turn it around. There's a sensational story lowered down at the front page as well. Look. Ministry Mole, classified secrets that may have been leaked overseas from Ministry of Justice. For a 10-year-old, Iris certainly has her finger on the pulse of world news. It's about secret communications between Great Britain and its allies. Apparently they're being intercepted by hostile nations. Communications are being intercepted, but how would somebody be doing that? That's the question, isn't it? I've come up with 3 different possible methods so far. Are you looking for a new career, Bruno? No, of course not. I wonder. Perhaps this is what Lord Strongheart was talking about yesterday. Yes, it could be. And it could explain why he has Grigsy running from pillar to post at the moment. Today's paper, Counsel. The headline is Pawnbroker Perishes in Pig Purse Blunder. Hardly supportive of your cause. No, my lord. I was hoping you'd look at a little further down the page. Further down, Ministry Mole, classified secrets may have been leaked overseas from Ministry of Justice. Yes, this is a very serious matter, being investigated at the highest level, I understand. I have heard that international transmissions along supposedly secure lines are somehow being intercepted and leaked to various other countries. And presumably, Those transmissions are in the form of wired telegrams. Of course. Juror number 5, your input, please. Stop. Me, sir? Whatever is the matter? You told the court before that you worked at the same communication station as Graydon, did you not? Yes, that's correct. And the particular station where you work deals with government communications and newspaper reports? Oh yes, we're not your run-of-the-mill communication station at all. Our work is extremely important. Then tell me, is this not a very familiar sound? Hmm? You don't mean to say, is it? That's right, madam. It bears more than a passing resemblance to the sound made by your telegraph machine as you tap it. I believe it's called Morse code. But I don't believe it! Now correct me if I'm wrong, but when it comes to leaking telegrams from government departments, there could be nobody more perfectly placed than a highly skilled communications officer. Are you suggesting that the music box disc contains stolen government secrets in Morse code? Order! Order! Please, everyone! Order! But this is high treason, counsel, deserving of capital punishment. Too much new vocabulary. What is this treason? And what is capital punishment? The sorts of words I'd half expect you to know. For a sovereign government of confidential information, hostile nations will certainly pay almost any price. Yes, and on that night 2 months ago, that was the very negotiation that was taking place inside the omnibus. But in the end, McGill perished, and the all-important disc lay unclaimed in the pawnbrokery. My word. My word. Oh, I lost the voice there. Fuck! In which case, whoever stole that information in the first place must surely have been beside himself with worry, because if the disc were to be discovered before it found its way out of the country, it would reveal an act of high treason punishable by death. So the culprit had no choice but to retrieve it, and in order to do that, he would have to gain entry to the pawnbrokery illegally in the middle of the night, because the article left behind by Mr. McGilded would incriminate him too much if it got into the wrong hands. Isn't that right, Mr. Graydon? You think I've been stealing government secrets? Preposterous. Absolutely preposterous. So in response to the defense's accusation, you claim complete innocence, do you? Well, of course I do. I've had to stand here in silence while that pretentious foreign lawyer has been prattling away. Then by all means, counter the charges, sir. The prosecution demands the witness testifies in response to the accusations brought by the defense. Delighted, I'm sure. The witness is reminded that the crime under scrutiny in this trial is the murder of the pawnbroker, Mr. Winniebank, that being a most flagitious offense for which the law of this land sanctions a capital punishment. But the heinous act of high treason is no less a serious crime. I urge you to bear that in mind as you testify, Mr. Graydon. So then, let us proceed. You may... You got less to have a rabbit and pork here, Governor. We got things to say. I beg your pardon. Who do you think you are? Name's Nash Skulkin. Occupation is professional baddie. Name's Ringo Skulkin, but we ain't baddies enough to sell out of motherland. That's right. We're what they call... There's 3 Skulkin brothers. Bad timing, fellas. Very bad timing. There's multiple statements we have to press for this, but we're gonna press every statement anyway. A mere communications officer couldn't possibly steal confidential government information. Besides, the sounds produced by that music box aren't even Morse code. It was some low-caste brickmaker negotiating with McGilded anyway, was it not? I have no relation to the man. Look, all we done is break into the gaff the other night, like what he told us to do. If we'd known there was dodgy government secrets involved, we wouldn't have touched it. Yeah, I don't care about having a consistent voice with those guys. Mr. Skulkin. What Mr. do, Governor? What's up? I take it that you now admit to the crime, that on the night in question, you did indeed gain entry to the premises illegally. And moreover, you did so as a party of 3 in collaboration with Mr. Graydon here. We did, Gav, we did. Quiet down, please. What say you to that, Mr. Graydon? I have no idea what these 2 ruffians are referring to. You little rotter, getting us mixed up in all this monkey business. You never said nothing about no government secrets. It was supposed to be a straight-up job. And what about the gays at your shop it was, eh? Poor bloke didn't have to die, did he? Ah. Nice to know who your friends are. Whatever these men say, I deny the accusations. Indeed. Well, I certainly wasn't expecting this little music box to become so significant in the proceedings. However, as it has, I will admit it into the court record as evidence. Press every statement here. Most important ones are statement 2 and statement 5. Statement 4, sorry. But I will press statement 2 early. This 4 is going to be the last one I press. So is this newspaper headline accurate? Government communications are being intercepted. How could I possibly know? What do you mean by that? Any important government communications are handled by high-level officers. My specialist, general members of staff in the station where I work, would never be entrusted with sensitive information. Oh no, stop. Must say something. Stop. Let me guess. Juror number 5. We regular communications officers aren't as lowly as you're being led to believe. A team of us are responsible for setting up and testing the telegraphs used by the ministry. And Mr. Graydon is the team leader. That's fascinating. Graydon is highly skilled operator. Stop. Currently in presence of vital. Stop. So you had access to the equipment used for these confidential communications, Mr. Graydon. Well, what of it? The transmissions are always made behind closed doors so they can't be heard. And in any case, all messages are sent and ciphered. Normal employees couldn't possibly understand them. Oh no, stop. Must say something. Stop. Mr. Graydon regularly attends meetings with ministry technicians and the ministry communications team. He assists them in ensuring that there are no errors in important international communications. And he's received the top prize at the cipher cracking convention 5 years in a row now. That's fascinating. Can I shut that woman up? Graydon is highly skilled operator. Stop. Currently in presence of idol. Stop. Well, your idol would appreciate it if you'd keep your mouth shut. She should really pick her idols more carefully. I tell you, this lawyer's accusations are completely unfounded. They're not? To anyone with a brain, that would be blatantly apparent on listening to that music box for even a few seconds. Of course, of course. Surely it can't be that my learned friend is unfamiliar with Morse code. Ouch, he looks genuinely shocked at my ignorance. Ha 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 ha. I'd be more than happy to demonstrate the basics for you, sir. A lesson here in court? Morse code is a continuous series of 2 distinct tones. Tones, you say? Yes, a short dot and a long dash. By combining those in different ways, you construct letters. I see. For example, this is A. This is B. But when you listen to the sound produced by this music box, you only hear one tone, don't you? But it sounds so similar. The rhythm of it is the same in everything. But there's no discernible meaning to this apparently random sequence of sounds. So your assertion is fundamentally flawed. This is not Morse code. No! Really, you shouldn't be so surprised. What did I tell you? That music box is nothing but a worthless piece of scrap. Perhaps you might consider studying your subject matter before casting aspersions in the future. Oh, stop. Nothing to say but stop. Oh, it's so frustrating, isn't it? Iris? I mean, if the government's secrets were somehow being leaked using the music box, too many other things would start into play so nicely. Could there still be something I haven't considered? Would it really be impossible to use this music box somehow to play back Morse code? There's still every possibility that this music box was instrumental in the leaking of government secrets. That's the belief of the defense, at least. Does it please you in some way, my Nepalese friend, to repeat the same line of argument ad infinitum? It's already been established that to be Morse code, 2 tones are required, dots and dashes. This is balderdash. Yes, I'm well aware of that. Then what? Well, it would appear the defense has a hypothesis to put forward. You had better present your idea at once, counsel. Actually, I can just press every statement as it goes along, so I don't have to worry too much. Wait. How do you propose that this music box, which appears to produce only a single tone, could have been used to cipher secret messages into Morse code? Oh. What is it, Runo? I've just noticed something about this music box. Looks like the bottom of it opens up. Oh, looks like the bottom of it opens up as well. Oh, you're right. Well, come on then. What are you waiting for? Let's open it. All right then. Here goes. Look at that. There's another movement on the other underside. So does that mean you can set another disc to play back on this side? Yes, I think so. It looks like the 2 movements are linked together. They're linked. So if you had 2 discs, they would both play back at the same time. Good gracious, what am I looking at here? Another movement on the other underside of the music box? What? It appears, my lord, that the 2 movements are linked together. In other words, you can put 2 discs in this music box, and the sounds of both will play back at the same time. Good heavens! As the court has heard, Morse code comprises of 2 tones, a short dot and a long dash. With a second disc in place, this music box could be used to generate Morse code and convey a message. This is beyond a joke. I'm sorry. This poor excuse for a lawyer has absolutely no evidence to support its claims. Though of course, if my learned friend were able to present the court with the second disc, that would be another matter. Well, I can't at the moment. And may I remind the court that, as the witness has pointed out, he was not the one in the omnibus with McGilded 2 months ago striking a deal over the disc or discs. Indeed, that was Mr. Mason, the brickmaker. Exactly. I had nothing whatsoever to do with it. Though it has holes, I must admit the argument presented by the defense has much promise. I believe the cross-examination should continue. The link between Graydon and the victim of the omnibus must be there somewhere, but I haven't found it yet. Oh dear, looks like you need to give your argument more strength, Bruno. You'll reiterate your testimony, for please, Mr. Graydon. If I must, though, I maintain exactly what I did at the start of this pointless cross-examination. So 2 months ago in that omnibus, McGilded killed the brickmaker and stole the disc. Mr. Mason was a single man with almost nothing to his name. It seems he lived in an artisan quarter some years ago, but people there remember little about him. That doesn't make much sense, though, does it? How would a humble brickmaker come to acquire secret government information? How indeed? There must have been somebody else involved behind the scenes in all this. Someone who acquired the disc and gave it to Mr. Mason, in order to take it to the meeting with McGilded and negotiate a deal. Dear me. You may have it in for me, sir, but I assure you I have far more class than that. An old brickmaker from an artisan quarter and this well-to-do communications officer. If only I could find some evidence to link the 2 of them together. If you have nothing more to add on that note, let us return to the witness testimony. Like Mr. Graydon told you to do, you mean? That's it, yeah. Who else, eh? Silly me, thought he was just popping over for an ad after all them years, but the rotter had a dodgy job for us. Hey, Ash. Let me stop you there, Mr. Skulkin. After all them years, you say? Do you mean to tell me that Mr. Graydon is an acquaintance of yours? Well, the sociable kind of baddies, you know. Sure, I'd say Graydon's an old china. Is something wrong, Mr. Skulkin? No, the other Mr. Skulkin. What? What? Who, me? When your brother was testifying just now, he said something that seemed to cause you to react. Oh, I was just remembering the old days, that's all. We used to have a right old laugh together way back when. Together with Mr. Graydon, you mean? Yeah, with Ash. I mean, you look at him now in his fancy whistle and flute, and you couldn't add him an even. And when he was younger, he was from the poor part of town, just like us. Is that so? Well, he was always a leery one. He had the brains, he had the savvy. Always coming up with small ideas like what would have never gone through our heads. God blimey, ain't that the truth? Remember Milverton and Skulkin's milk run? That was a corker, eh? Save it until after the trial. Your reminiscing has no place in this courtroom. Neither does your fruit. Oh, the geezer asked us a question, didn't he? And we was answering. Yeah, we ain't done nothing wrong. Nevertheless, the court is not prepared to accompany you on your trip down memory lane. Counsel, can we turn our attention back to the testimony, please? I don't know, could the sentimental story be relevant somehow? My lord? Yes, counsel? The brother's last sentimental statement could hold vital information relating to this case. Very well, counsel. I'll permit the brothers to supplement their testimony with that detail. Briefly, I hasten to add. Say no more. Skulkin's never skulkin'. So did you know nothing about this music box? We know nothing. We still don't know nothing. And we ain't planning on knowing nothing about it neither. Wait. Did I say? Neither yet. But 2 days ago, you did indeed break into Windybank's pawnbrokery, didn't you? In your original testimony, you said that the door of the shop was ajar and that it was like some kind of sign. Some kind of a sign begging you to go in. Well, the truth is, you were planning to break into Windybanks all along, weren't you? We were, Gav, we were. You're right there. Because that's what he told us to do. It was his plan. And why was it Mr. Graydon's plan to Mr. Graydon's plan to break into Windybanks that night? Did you not ask the reason? Well, he said the place was full of stuff worth nicking. That's what he told us beforehand, anyway. Turned out it was a load of cobblers, didn't it? I won't best please, I can tell you. In any case, if they know the real reason, it doesn't sound like they're going to give it away. I'm sure I'm going to regret asking, but what exactly was that? Some kind of business? It's a little scheme we had going back when we was youngsters. A bit of fun, really. Delivering fresh milk to the locals. That's what it was all about. That sounds alarmingly legitimate. There must be a catch. I suppose since we're here, I should ask them to elaborate, but on what? So this business was just a bit of fun, you say, and it was just yourselves and Mr. Graydon involved. Yeah, that's it. Milverton and Skulkin's milk run, was it? Yeah, that's it. And where did the Milverton part come from? Oh right, I thought a clever clogs like you would have worked that one out. That's his. Enough of this. How much longer are we expected to listen to this drivel? I don't. Let me guess. You don't accept anything these two witnesses are saying? Tell me, why is it that it was only at the mention of the name Milverton that you decided to interject? But because it weren't the happiest of homes that one came from. Yeah, his old man was struggling for money so much, his wife walked out on him. Took the name Graydon then, see? But Ash will always be Milverton to us. Milverton. So that used to be your surname, did it? Of course not! This is all bunkum. I've been a Graydon since I was born. Do you really think you can rely on the testimony of these two thieves, You're a communication officer attached to the civil service. As such, your personal details will have been thoroughly checked at the time of your appointment. It would be a very simple matter indeed to subpoena those records, Mr. Graydon. Ah. Well, it would appear that Mr. Skulkin's testimony has been reliable, for once. You were born Ashley Milverton, then. Is that correct? Very well, yes. So Ashley Graydon was once Ashley Milverton. That information could change things, and could turn out to be extremely important. All of a sudden, we seem to be up to our necks in a serious matter of national security. Although, all this talk about interception of secret government messages is still conjecture at this stage. It would explain a number of things, though, wouldn't it? The negotiation Jenny overheard on the omnibus 2 months ago, and the break-in at Windy Banks. But the trouble is, it wasn't Mr. Graydon in the omnibus with Mr. McGill. No, that was Mr. Mason, the brickmaker who was so horribly murdered. If only there was some link between the two men somehow. I know, but Mr. Graydon's testimony seems to be as watertight as ever. I wonder if the key to us making headway with the cross-examination here could be those two brothers, which it is, yeah. Now... Oopsie. That's all over here. Yeah, you can see right there why this is relevant. Mr. Ashley Milverton. Tell me, why did you try to hide your former name from the court? Because I haven't gone by that name for years. It means nothing to me. No, I don't think that's the real explanation at all. The truth is, you had a reason to hide that name. Explain yourself, please, counsel. I have here the notes from the omnibus case, my lord. As we all know, the victim, the man who we now understand to have been negotiating with McGill. Yes, Mr. Mason, the brickmaker. That's right. Only Mason wasn't his surname at all. It was his given name. His full name was Mason Milverton. Milverton? Did you mean to say Saint alive? Mr. Ashley Milverton, is it not the case that the brickmaker, Mr. Mason Milverton, was your father? I don't... As I believe I mentioned earlier, your family history will have been thoroughly checked when you join the civil service. And it really would take no time at all for the court to subpoena those records. Truth is, you have been illegally acquiring highly confidential government information and selling it on to McGill in collaboration with your father. The new facts and evidence unveiled by the cross-examination of this witness all come together to reveal the truth. The truth, you say? That you collaborated with your father, Mr. Mason Milverton, in illegal dealings with Magnus McGill. By dint of this music box, you mean, counsel? Yes, stealing information being sent in secret government communications and selling it on to McGill. Mr. Graydon concocted this elaborate scheme of using two music box discs to encode the information. Just checking something quickly. As presumably a safety feature against the information falling into the wrong hands. And a very effective one. I shouldn't have given the scheme any credence whatsoever. But the deal with McGill went sour, and the brickmaker met his end. Yes, but before he was arrested, McGill managed to temporarily dispose of the stolen disc at the pawnbroker. Then, having learned of the situation, you appeared at Windy Banks 2 days ago, in an attempt to recover the two articles McGill had placed in pawn there. But that attempt failed. One of the discs was seized by the police, and the other you never found. So that same night, you enlisted the help of the Skulkin brothers and broke into the pawnbrokery. This time, determined to recover the second disc. Are you suggesting that the second disc was inside the music box? Eh? We never knew nothing about that. On the night that Mr. Windybank was killed. The intruder to the pawnbroker touched one item, and one item alone, the music box. Okay, I didn't skip anything else. That's rather ingeniously demonstrated using the 2 prints from the security camera, indeed. So the question that naturally begs answering is this. Why was only that one article disturbed? Ugh. The answer is obvious. Because it contained the second disc, which the intruder was desperate to retrieve. Since if it were to fall into the hands of the police, it would be proof of his high treason. Well, Mr. Graydon, do you deny that all of this actually began on that fateful night 2 months ago? Hi. I refuse to accept any of this nonsense. Sir? There appears to be blood seeping through the sleeve of your jacket. What? 2 nights ago, we know that 3 shots were fired at the scene of the crime in Windybank's pawnbrokery. 1 took the life of the pawnbroker himself. 1 struck the pouch around Mr. Holmes's waist. And the final bullet struck the calendar on the wall of the shop, having first pierced the arm of one of the intruders. Mr. Graydon, that wound on your arm you seem to be trying to hide. It's a bullet wound, isn't it? He's got you now, me old China. Time to call it quits and croak, I reckon. Don't acknowledge my presence there under any circumstances whatsoever. Those were my terms, remember, and I paid you handsomely to comply. Clearly I was a fool to think that I could trust some common-back slum thieves. Fine, I admit it. I was there in Windybanks that night. I paid this pair 10 guineas to accompany me, and as you've noticed, I sustained an injury in the course of my adventures. But that is all. I admit to nothing more. Stealing government secrets, negotiating with Mr. McGilded. As God is my witness, I am sure I recall nothing of the sort. He's not going to go down without a fight. Not until I can show hard evidence, I suppose. Nevertheless, the defense has now established a crucial fact. Which is... Well, we know that 1 bullet was fired from each of the 2 firearms we have in evidence. The bullet from the Skulkin brothers hit the pouch around Mr. Holmes's waist. And the bullet from Mr. Windybank's gun clearly must have been the one that caught Mr. Graydon on the arm. Indeed it must. We can rule out the possibility that the man shot himself. And that leads us to only one conclusion. Mr. Windybank was shot by a 3rd gun, which can only have been fired by the 3rd intruder. Goodness. That's right, Mr. Graydon. Grr. The only person who could possibly have shot Mr. Windybank that night is you! You little upstart! You made a great mistake when you summoned me here! What? What's that supposed to mean? Yes, as you rightly say, I was there at the pawnbroker's. I did my best to hide the fact, naturally. I had no intention of ruining the distinguished career I'd built for myself at the communication station. But did the thought never cross your mind? Did you never consider the possibility? What? What do you mean? What thought? What possibility? The possibility that if I was there at the scene, I may have witnessed a crucial moment. You see, this makes me a key witness in this case, and I have my hands firmly around the neck of your client. What? Are you suggesting? I saw it all. I saw the very moment that pickpocket girl pointed the gun at that Paul Defense's pawnbroker and shot him. You... what? Order! Order! Well, it would seem that we are finally entering the last act of the theatrical trial. Mr. Graydon. Yes, yes. I trust you are fully aware of the implications here. If it is shown that your claim is false, you will have incriminated yourself as the killer. Oh, I understand fully. Then I must ask you to give your formal testimony once more. You explain to the court precisely what you saw at the moment the defendant allegedly shot the victim. Nothing would give me greater pleasure. You smug piece of shit. While these ruffians were jostling with the broker, I was still near the entrance of the shop. When Windybank threw Nash over the counter, I felt a sharp pain in my arm. I pursued the man, but he shut himself in the storeroom. I could see him through the peephole in the door, though. The accused in a black coat shot the man in the back as he was trying to flee to safety. I saw the blood spatter all over that wretched girl. Then she tossed the gun out of the peephole, so I picked it up and made my escape. Good gracious, this is quite extraordinary testimony. You claim, sir, under oath, to have clearly seen the defendant pulling the trigger. Order! 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 It wasn't my intention to testify in this way. But neither is it my intention to be found guilty of a murder I didn't commit. So you see, my hand has been forced. I tell the truth now as an act of self-preservation. The truth. Until now, the prosecution was completely unaware of these details. Let me fucking redo that line. Until now, the prosecution was completely unaware of these details. Oh, blimey, well, I'm sorry about that. Having shot me in the arm, the pawnbroker was then shot in the back by the accused. And as I said, she was showered in his blood. See the blood splattered over the accused's coat. Are you sure on that point? Wait, what the fuck? Oh my god, my brain. You see the blood spattered over the accused's coat. Are you sure on that point? Oh yes, quite sure. All over the black overcoat that pickpocket girl was wearing at the time. Really? Her coat could somehow be shown to harbor vestiges of blood. That would be conclusive evidence here. Such an investigation is entirely possible, my lord. What? Only very recently, a German scientist has developed a technique to identify human blood. So here's the true science, not some amateurish detective's dubious foray into the world of chemistry. There's nothing dubious about Hurley's works. His ideas are all sound. Ideas are no use to us here. In science, as in law, theories must be proven before they stand. In Germany, the technique has already been employed in the courtroom as the basis of evidence. Scotland Yard has a small quantity of the chemical reagent to use with your lordship's permission. We could shatter all vestiges of doubt within minutes. This doesn't look good, Runo. Why not? Well, we know, don't we, that there's blood all over the front of Ginny's coat. If they test it with the chemicals... Oh, help. You're right. I was forgetting what happened yesterday. Don't move, Ginny. I'm gonna shoot. Pew! That's not Mr. Windybank's blood. That stain's from 2 months ago. That's Mr. Mason's blood from when he was stabbed by McGilded, who was wearing the coat at the time. My lord, the defense objects to the test proposed by the prosecution. Overruled. Lord Van Zieks, make it so at once. With pleasure, my lord. While we await the results, the defense may proceed with the cross-examination. Once they find that blood on the overcoat, Sheena will be... Counsel! Yes, my lord. Your cross-examination. Of course, my lord. This cross-examination doesn't go well. If I don't manage to uncover some decisive evidence or a really compelling clue now, I have a very bad feeling about the outcome of this trial. So press every statement. Mr. Windybank emerged from the storeroom, I believe. Ringo and Nash were scouring the counter when he suddenly appeared and flew at them. He already had the revolver in his hand. Fortunately, I wasn't too close. Never been scared of me in my life. Yeah, we're just regular mild-mannered burglars. That's all. We don't like violence. Says the pair who carry a gun. What do you mean when you say you weren't near the entrance to the shop? I was in the doorway, running my eyes over the shelves of forfeited items. Looking for the music box, of course. The broker went for Nash in the first place. Then Ringo joined in, making it 2 against 1. So I assumed they could handle the situation. But I was wrong. I was trying to help me, little bruv. The old geezer chucked me over the blooming counter. So I pulled me gun on the old fella, and that soon made him scupper. Forever setting upon the poor defenseless pawnbroker together. Shame on you! Sorry, Gav. You mean that's the moment you were shot? Yes, so I didn't immediately realize what had happened, of course. Things crashed to the floor from the counter as the 3 men were brawling. It was at exactly that moment that it happened, so I didn't hear the gunshot. And the bullet went on to strike the calendar in the wall behind you. So it would appear. When I looked at my arm, I saw it was bleeding badly, so I wrapped my handkerchief around it. Seeing as I couldn't explain what had happened to a doctor, I had no choice but to wait for it to heal. I didn't imagine it would still be bleeding 2 days later. Did Mr. Windybank intend to shoot you, do you think? Well, now, I don't imagine he even noticed I was there, to be honest. Perhaps the gun went off accidentally. Anyway, I didn't quite strike home. I put my gun on him. He tried to shove me out of the way. Then he scampered through that door out back. At which point, what did you do? I pursued the man, but why am I reading him? You mean you chased after him? I don't recall the reason why, but I ran after him to the back of the shop. And what about this peephole in the door you mentioned? Well, unsurprisingly, storeroom's door is a solid job, made of stout wood. Go over on me. But there's a small opening in it about head height that lets you see what's in there from the outside. Actually, I should know that, shouldn't I? I looked through it myself that night. And what about you burgling brothers? Did you see what went on through this peephole as well? No lucky, Gov. Didn't see nothing of the sort, Gov. I thought these 2 buffoons were even aware of the peephole's existence. The Skulkin brothers were there, but they didn't see the killing of Mr. Windybank take place. Inside the storeroom, I could see the broker and that young girl standing there. The defendant? Yes, though neither of them noticed that I was looking. The girl raised her gun and pointed it straight at the man. And then, what did you see next? Yes, when the crime was discovered, the defendant was found with a gun in her hand. But that was Mr. Windybank's gun, from which only a single bullet had been fired. And as we've already established, Mr. Graydon, that bullet was fired at you. But no. It wasn't the broker's gun that the pickpocket had when I saw her. Yes, the bullet from Windybank's gun grazed my arm. And yes, the Skulkin's gun grounded the detective, but this was another gun entirely. A third gun. The broker's gun was not the murder weapon, so clearly there had to be a third firearm involved. In other words, the accused must have had her own gun with her at the time. But no other gun was found at the scene. Calm yourself, counsel. Sorry. You must consider the events in order. At first I saw the broker and the girl glaring at each other, but then all of a sudden, the broker turned to run. And it was at that moment that the little gutter rat shot him in the back. Chilling image, I must say. All over her. Yes, through the peephole, I saw it clearly. Of course, the stains are invisible now, what with the coat being such a dark color. But I assure you That garment is sullied with the victim's blood. Well, it is sullied with blood, that's for sure.
But it's not Mr. Windybank's blood, is it?
No, that's right. It's Mr. Mason Milverton's blood from when McGilda stabbed him 2 months ago.
It's so annoying. Well, if they'd only accept Hurley's chemical analysis, we could prove that.
But they won't, so unfortunately we can't use it as evidence to support our case.
Bother.
Did I hear you correctly? She threw the gun out of the room?
That's right. After the broker fell to the floor, she started walking over.
Over where exactly?
In the direction of the storeroom door, to where I was watching. Of course, I quickly retreated, and then the girl dropped the gun through the peephole onto the floor on my side of the door.
Why on earth would she do such a thing?
I couldn't tell you. Perhaps she was hoping to distance herself from the murder weapon. Without thinking, I went and picked it up. I suppose I was worried about just leaving it there, in case any more tragedies took place. So it was you, in fact, who took the third gun from the scene of the crime. Yes, if it was yours truly. I left the clear up to my lackeys on the left.
Clear up?
We made a bit of a mess around the counter, so Mr. Winstonflutie told us to tidy up. He thinks he's our bloomin' mum sometimes. I was paying you enough, by God.
Tell me, Mr. Graydon, when you left the pawnbrokery that night, was it by any chance with the second disc in your jacket pocket?
You're like a bull at a gate, aren't you?
Gentlemen!
God blimey, something wrong, sunshine. That should be my line.
You do realize you were just violently shaking Mr. Skulkin?
Blimey, this dude's a bit of an hooligan, ain't he?
What was going on just now?
You saw him. He grabbed me whistle. What the blazes, he said. Didn't you mention the third gun when we got you down to the station?
And why didn't you?
'Cause we didn't know nothing about it. What that flaming peephole on the door.
God blimey, sorry about that.
I can be prone to losing my rag sometimes. Not hurt, are you? God blimey. See the way he's looking at me? I'm telling you, this D gives me the willies.
That was strange. The inspector doesn't normally get quite as worked up as that. He wouldn't normally grab someone.
No, that wasn't like Grexy at all. He's normally all sweetness and light, no matter what I say to him.
Yes, well, I think you might be a special case, Iris.
Well, anyway, that was definitely out of character.
My lord, requesting your lordship's permission to interrupt the cross-examination.
Explain yourself, officer.
Explain yourself, officer. I have the results of the test that was ordered earlier, my lord.
Ah, the blood. From the accused's overcoat.
Hang on, I'm just checking something. There you go. Thank you, officer. Very well, the cross-examination is hereby temporarily suspended. I presume we have no objection, counsel? No, my lord.
Well, there you have it. Report. The report, please, Inspector.
Yes, sir, Gorblimey. Traces of human blood were found in the overcoat of the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. From the extent of the stains, it would appear that they were the result of spattering following a gunshot wound. End of report.
Goodness me. See, what did I tell you?
No, the blood on that coat is not Mr. Windybank's. What on earth makes you say that, counsel? The coat originally belonged to Magnus McGilded. Just before his coat was deposited at Windybank's, McGilded had fatally stabbed Mr. Mason Milverton, so the blood on the overcoat is the blood of the brickmaker from the omnibus case.
Well, the dead cannot speak. Isn't that right, my Nepalese friend?
Sorry?
2 months ago, in this very courtroom, did you not argue fervently for McGilda's innocence? And yet, now that the man is dead, you brand him as a murderer. Your conduct shadows any shred of respect you may have earned for yourself in this country. But that was... I call it a bold disgrace, treachery, that's what it is. How to determine whether the blood on that coat is 2 months old or not? Even a stereoscope couldn't help answer that problem. Couldn't help the answer to that problem pop out. It can't be done. But we use Mr. Holmes' specially formulated chemicals. Mr. Holmes is a detective, not a chemist. Would you put such faith in a chemical formula devised by me, for example, when I'm a communications officer? They held out Podolsky, the starveling boy, and he ran away crying. Sherlock Holmes is barely more than a figment of the public's imagination. His name carries no weight in this courtroom. No weight at all. How could you say that? Victory is sweet indeed. This proves that my testimony is the whole truth from start to finish. How do you arrive at such a conclusion, sir? We'll see. As the witness said, the accused coat spattered with the blood of the victim. The only way Mr. Graydon could possibly have known that fact is if he saw it happen. In other words, his testimony is solid, and the conclusion is singular. It was the accused who shot the victim in this case. That is the whole truth. Ah! My lord, been a long battle this one, but this old warhorse has something to say now, if you please. Mr. Foreman. As of this moment, sir, the squadron has reached its final decision. Ready, men? All for one now. Sir!
Yuzai!
Yuzai!
Yuzai! Yuzai!
Yuzai!
Yuzai!
Well, it would appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury have reached a unanimous verdict. The defense has consistently failed to unpick this witness's testimony. Here's to any attempt you may make at unpicking the jurors' decisions being equally successful. I don't believe it. After I've come so far, how is it all unraveling on me so fast? How very distressing, to be held in such low esteem. Wouldn't you agree, Miss Naruto? Officer, you delivered the report now. That would be all, thank you. It occurs to me with some regularity, Mr. Naruto, that scientific truths are determined not by science, but by none other than the human mind. I know that voice. Am I going mad? Mr. Holmes! What is the meaning of this? Order! What business do you have here, detective? Last I heard, you were recuperating in a hospital. As well as I would be, had I not been set upon an errand. What errand? Ellie, it's really you. You're awake at last. Yes, good day, Iris. I appear to be late to rise. My apologies. Now, my lord, if you will humor me. In what manner, sir? I have something of great importance I wish to give to the young lawyer over there. I need no more than 5 minutes. Would you be so kind as to spare us the time? What say you to this, Lord Van Zieks? This trial has taken many hours of the court's time. We've spent so long already. Actually, I haven't spent so long already. Why don't we go home? We don't want to go wasting any more precious time, Gorblimey. As I was saying, having spent so long already, it would seem churlish to deny the defense a mere 5 minutes. Eh? Very well then, Consul, you have 5 minutes. My dear fellow, I apologize for my tardy arrival. Mr. Holmes, are you alright now? Alright, I'm all wrong. Sorry? I've only just managed to summon the strength to stand my man. I asked the judge for 5 minutes. But I fear even that may prove too much for me. Pray forgive me should I pass out. Let's make this discussion as short as possible. Ellie, this place is full of idiots. None of them can see how wonderful your chemical blood analysis is. Ah well, that concoction of mine really was just a bit of sport to assist me in my investigations. I never took the trouble to refine it for appraisal by the scientific community. An oversight on my part. Right, modesty. Surely not. But enough of that. I'm here to give you this, my dear fellow. What's that? Lavender furoshiki wrapping? A leaving present from Miss Susato. From Miss Susato? Susato, whatever. Fuck, I keep on... If possible, matters were to be settled without me giving you this. Those were her instructions when she asked me to do when she asked me to do this. My jaw hurts. Those were her instructions when she asked me to do her this favor. I don't understand. Miss Susato foresaw today's events, I believe. She knew that the culprit would attempt to escape justice by means both devious and underhand, and that you, Miss Naruto, fighting fairly as you are, want to do, would find yourself in considerable peril. At the very moment of crisis, you were to be given this small parcel. Those were the dear lady's instructions. A leaving present from Miss Susato-san. Whatever could it be? What is this? Oh! It's the machine I made. Markerheim. Look, I use this. It's my latest invention. What is that? I call it the cat flapper mat. It can make a cat flap for a little furry friend like Wagi in seconds. What's Susie up to? Mr. Shuttle muttered the following words before she left. I'm a failure. I don't deserve to be a judicial assistant. What? Didn't you say something like that? You really are the best judicial assistant in the world. Well, that's extremely flattering. But I'm sorry to say that I've been a complete failure. Whatever did she mean by that, Mr. Holmes? That night, when you left Miss Wendy Banks in pursuit of the thieves, Miss Susato made use of this contraption for a certain purpose. That is your answer, dear fellow. No, not at all cryptic. Not at all cryptic then. Susato-san used this cat flapper mat that night, but why? Your 5 minutes is over. We're out of time already? I'm grateful to you for affording us that brief recess, Mr. Reaper. Let me read that again. I'm grateful to you for affording us that brief recess, Mr. Reaper. I need no thanks, Detective. After all, the die is cast. Is it really? The jurors are unanimous in their leanings. No doubt my learned friend will consider a summation examination. But any attempt to alter the verdict now would be utterly futile. I wonder... Mr. Naruto. Yes? The rest is down to you, dear fellow. What is your plan? The rest is down to me. I need to be careful here. If I make a wrong move, the trial will end badly. My lord, the defense requests further cross-examination. The jurors have spoken. Protocol dictates that you may not cross-examine a new witness now. The defense is not asking for the cross-examination of a new witness, rather to continue with one of an existing witness. What? It would appear that a rather important detail has escaped your attention, Mr. Reaper. My lord? Requesting your lordship's permission to interrupt the cross-examination.
Thank you, officer. Very well. The cross-examination is hereby temporarily suspended. I presume you have no objection, counsel?
No, my lord. So nobody can say anything then. If you're not asked to resume his cross-examination, Mr. Graydon, the court is obliged to allow it. This is absurd. This is absurd.
I will remind those present that this is my courtroom. I concur that the defense is entirely within its rights to request a continuation of the cross-examination. However, I will not permit an unremitting protraction of these proceedings. Therefore, I have decided to afford the defense one final opportunity in concluding this cross-examination. Counsel, you must choose but one statement from the witness's testimony, and but one piece of evidence to present it in court, in support of your argument against it.
Single chance to present evidence.
If following that the situation remains unchanged, I shall move to adjudication. Is that clear, counsels? You will not press the witness any further.
My lord. Yes, my lord. A single statement, and a single piece of evidence. Most generous. Well then, Miss Naruto, it's high time I fell in a dead faint. I leave this in your capable hands. Mr. Holmes! And they missed a Mr. Holmes there. Fuck. Oh, I think it's because it's in capital letters. Maybe that's why they had like an AI program do this. I think that's how the mod does it. It's like an AI program that takes away all the words Sholmes, changes it to Holmes, but if it's all capital letters, then that's when it's fucky.
To stand so insignificantly before the court in a state of such high fever.
I don't know how to pronounce that word. Let's see. How the fuck do you pronounce that word? Nope.
Insouciant.
Insouciantly. That is how you pronounce it. Alright.
Either the man has extraordinary strength of mind or an extraordinary lack of feeling.
I imagine he's feeling very little now. The detective is sleeping soundly in one of the antechambers.
Strike a man when he's down, why don't you? Well then, counsel, are you fully prepared?
Yes. One statement. One piece of evidence. I won't let Mr. Holmes down. Or Iris. I won't waste this final chance that Susato-san gave me. This is going to decide the entire outcome of the trial.
Very well then. Under the terms I have outlined, you may resume the cross-examination.
So no pressing. If you present the wrong evidence, you're fucked. So, Statement 3 and Statement 6 is where you present the evidence. But that's gonna be the end for this episode right now. I'm a dick tease, I know, but this next part is still decently long and is going to be the finale. So, we have our last piece of evidence. We are so close to taking down Ashley Graydon, and next time on the finale of the Greatest Attorney Adventures, we're gonna take him down for good. And holy shit, is next episode going to be amazing. So, see you guys next time. Take care.